Have you ever dreamed of living in 1980s Los Angeles? For many, it was the city's golden age, a time when dreams felt closer, the nights burned brighter, and every street seemed alive with possibility. It was a decade of fast cars, neon lights, legendary clubs, and sun-soaked days that seemed endless. Before the city began its slow transformation, there was magic here in every sidewalk cafe, every roller skater speeding down Venice Beach, every song blasting from a convertible cruising Sunset Boulevard. Los Angeles was a mosaic of energy, creativity, and freedom. A place where the future felt just around the corner and anything seemed possible. In this video, we're taking you back to the streets, the places, and the unforgettable moments that made 1980s Los Angeles one of the most iconic eras in the city's history. Get ready to rewind time and feel the pulse of a city that, for a moment, truly believed it was unstoppable. In the 1980s, Sunset Boulevard was more than just a street, it was the heartbeat of Los Angeles nightlife. The Sunset Strip, a legendary stretch between Doheny Drive and Crescent Heights, pulsed with neon lights, loud music, and the scent of endless possibilities. It was where young dreamers and seasoned rock stars crossed paths under the California sky. Clubs like Whiskey, Agogo, and the Roxy were the launch pads for bands that would define a generation. On any given night, you might stumble into a show by rising legends like Guns N' Roses, Mötley Crüe, or even an unannounced performance by a superstar. The Strip wasn't just about music. It was a living, breathing scene, a place where the night could take you anywhere. Back then, cruising Sunset Boulevard was a ritual. Cars with the top down, music blasting, friends laughing. It wasn't just about getting somewhere. It was about being there, soaking up the electric energy that made Sunset the ultimate symbol of freedom and rebellion. If Sunset was the soul of rock and roll, Hollywood Boulevard was the dazzling heart of the city's dreams. In the 1980s, it still carried the faded glamour of old Hollywood, a place where movie magic and myth collided under the star-lined sidewalks of the Walk of Fame. Tourists mingled with locals, street performers entertained crowds outside the historic Grauman's Chinese Theater, and the neon glow of the grand old cinemas lit up the night. There was a sense that, at any moment, you could catch a glimpse of a star or become one yourself. The boulevard offered both a fantasy and a challenge. Chase your dreams, or get lost among them. Despite its gritty edges, Hollywood Boulevard in the 80s had an undeniable charm. It was a place suspended between past and future, where the ghost of Marilyn Monroe might brush shoulders with a punk rocker on the rise. Every star embedded in the sidewalk told a story, and those stories felt alive. Far from the polished image of Hollywood, Melrose Avenue in the 1980s was raw, colorful, and unapologetically cool. It was the epicenter of LA's alternative scene, a stretch of street where punk, new wave, and avant-garde fashion collided in a wild, creative explosion. Boutiques with handmade clothes, edgy thrift shops, and graffiti-covered walls gave Melrose its gritty beauty. Here, self-expression wasn't just encouraged, it was required. Artists, musicians, skaters, and rebels made this their playground, redefining style and culture with every step they took. Walking down Melrose in the 80s felt like stepping into another world, one where rules didn't matter, where being different was celebrated, and where every day was a chance to invent yourself anew. It was chaotic, it was fearless, and it was pure Los Angeles. Tucked into the vibrant chaos of the Sunset Strip, the Roxy Theater was a sanctuary for live music lovers in the 1980s. Though small in size, it held a massive reputation for launching some of the biggest names in rock, pop, and alternative music. On any night, the air inside buzzed with anticipation, the feeling that you might be witnessing the next big thing before the rest of the world caught on. The Roxy wasn't about spectacle, it was about connection. The intimacy of the space blurred the line between artist and audience, creating performances that felt raw, immediate, and unforgettable. From rising local bands to secret gigs by major stars, every show at the Roxy was its own little piece of Los Angeles history. In an era obsessed with big, flashy production, the Roxy stood as a reminder that magic often happens when the lights are low, the crowd is close, and the music is all that matters. Stretching across the San Fernando Valley, Ventura Boulevard was more than just a long road, it was a cultural artery. In the 1980s, it earned the nickname Sushi Row thanks to the sudden explosion of high-quality sushi restaurants, a trend that introduced countless Angelenos to a now ubiquitous cuisine. But Ventura was about more than just food. It captured the suburban dream of LA life. Malls, movie theaters, record shops, and cruising teenagers in souped-up cars. Unlike the glamour of Hollywood or the chaos of Sunset, Ventura offered a slice of everyday magic, a place where big dreams simmered quietly beneath the surface. It was on Ventura Boulevard that the rhythms of ordinary life played out against the backdrop of an extraordinary city. It wasn't flashy, but it was real, and for many, it was the true heart of Los Angeles in the 80s. Just steps away from the Roxy, the Rainbow Bar and Grill was more than just a restaurant, it was the afterparty of the Sunset Strip. In the 1980s, it was a second home to rock legends, roadies, groupies, and anyone who lived for the music and the nightlife. The walls seemed to hum with stories of wild nights and bigger-than-life personalities. It wasn't unusual to see members of Mötley Crüe, Guns N' Roses, or even Ozzy Osbourne hanging out at the bar, sharing drinks, and planning the next chapter of rock and roll history. Deals were made, bands were formed, and legends were born all over plates of pasta and whiskey-soaked conversations. The Rainbow captured the soul of the decade. Loud, unapologetic, rebellious, and unforgettable. It was a living monument to a time when rock stars were still larger than life, and so was the city around them. Hidden away in a nondescript basement in Hollywood, Cath Grand was the heart of Los Angeles' underground punk scene. While other clubs on the Strip showcased polished acts, Cath thrived on the raw, aggressive energy of a scene that rejected commercialism and conformity. The club's dark, graffiti-stained walls shook nightly with the sounds of punk, hardcore, and experimental bands. Groups like the Red Hot, Chili Peppers, Social Distortion, and Bad Religion cut their teeth on its tiny stage. Cath Grand wasn't about fame, it was about freedom, about giving a voice to those who didn't fit anywhere else. In a decade often remembered for excess, Cath was a gritty reminder that Los Angeles was also a place for outsiders to create their own kind of revolution. Wilshire Boulevard, one of Los Angeles' great thoroughfares, was a mirror reflecting the city's incredible diversity. Stretching from downtown to the Pacific Ocean, it passed through the towering skyscrapers of the business district, the Art Deco splendor of Miracle Mile, and the polished streets of Beverly Hills. In the 1980s, Wilshire was a corridor of ambition and reinvention. The newly revitalized museum district, anchored by the Los Angeles County Museum of Art, LACMA, symbolized the city's growing cultural maturity. Skyscrapers rose, shops flourished, and boulevards buzzed with the energy of a city charging toward the future. Wilshire told the story of a Los Angeles that was constantly evolving, blending old elegance with new dreams, weaving together the many faces and ambitions that made the city unforgettable. Stepping into Muso and Frank Grill in the 1980s felt like stepping back in time, and that was exactly the point. Since opening its doors in 1919, this Hollywood landmark had been a favorite haunt of stars, directors, and writers who built the legends of Tinseltown. In the neon glow era of the 80s, Muso and Frank stood proudly unchanged, offering red leather booths, bow-tied waiters, and a menu that whispered of old Hollywood glamour. It was a sanctuary where past and present mingled over perfect martinis and timeless steaks. For those chasing dreams in the City of Angels, dining at Muso and Frank was a reminder that greatness had walked these same floors, and perhaps, just perhaps, some of the magic would rub off. In a city obsessed with reinvention, the Source restaurant was ahead of its time. Sitting right on Sunset Boulevard, this pioneering spot introduced Los Angeles to the world of vegetarian, organic, and health-conscious eating long before it became a global trend. During the 1980s, celebrities, artists, and spiritual seekers flocked to the Source not just for the food, but for the atmosphere, a blend of New Age philosophy, clean living, and endless California sunshine. It wasn't just a restaurant, It was a lifestyle statement. The source captured a different side of LA's 80s culture, one that sought meaning beyond fame and fortune, looking inward while still living under the brightest lights. While trends came and went in Los Angeles, some institutions remained beloved constants, and El Cholo was one of them. Founded in 1923, by the 1980s it had become the go-to spot for authentic Mexican food, offering comfort, tradition, and incredible flavors in a city that was always changing. Generations of Angelinos gathered here for green corn, tamales, enchiladas, and icy margaritas served in heavy glasses. Celebrities sat side by side with families, students, and workers, because at El Cholo, everyone was welcome. In an LA chasing the future, El Cholo anchored people to their roots, offering a taste of history on every plate. Open 24 hours a day, Pacific Dining Car was unlike any other restaurant in Los Angeles. Styled like an elegant vintage train car, it catered to early risers, night owls, and everyone in between, a true testament to the city that never really sleeps. By the 1980s, it was legendary not just for its incredible steaks and impeccable service, but for its clientele, politicians, actors, writers, and the occasional insomniac dreamer. Inside its wood-paneled walls, time seemed to slow down, offering a rare pause in a city constantly racing forward. Pacific Dining Car wasn't just a meal, it was an experience, a ritual, and a memory tucked away in the heart of the night. No restaurant defined 1980s sophistication quite like Spago. Opened by celebrity chef Wolfgang Puck on the Sunset Strip, it revolutionized LA dining with its creative, California-infused cuisine and relaxed, glamorous atmosphere. Spago was where Hollywood power players sealed deals over smoked salmon, pizza, and handcrafted pastas, where emerging stars celebrated their first big roles, and where being seen was almost as important as what was on the plate. It captured the energy of an LA that was daring, ambitious, and endlessly innovative. In a decade obsessed with reinvention, Spago led the charge, proving that fine dining could be both extraordinary and accessible, and that Los Angeles had arrived as a true culinary capital. In the glittering swirl of 1980s Los Angeles nightlife, Flipper's Roller Boogie Palace shone like a neon beacon. Located in West Hollywood, this iconic roller rink wasn't just a place to skate, it was a cultural phenomenon, blending disco fever, fashion, and celebrity glamour under one spinning, sparkling roof. Every night, the floor was alive with flashing lights, pounding beats, and the effortless glide of roller skaters dressed in the boldest, brightest outfits the era had to offer. Celebrities, musicians, and artists all flocked to Flippers, blurring the lines between performance and party. Flippers captured the spirit of pure, unapologetic fun that defined much of 80s Los Angeles, a place where, for a few hours, anyone could be a star, spinning beneath the mirrored lights of endless possibility. No single place embodied the raw power of Los Angeles rock and roll in the 1980s, quite like Whiskey Agogo. Standing proudly on the Sunset Strip, the Whiskey wasn't just a club, it was a launching pad for legends. In the 80s, the Whiskey's tiny stage bore witness to the explosive early performances of bands like Mötley Crüe, Guns N' Roses, and countless others who would go on to define the decade's sound. The walls vibrated with the intensity of the music, the crowd surging like a living wave of energy and rebellion. More than a venue, Whiskey Agogo was a proving ground, a place where dreams were loud, messy, and very, very real. In the smoky haze and electric noise of those nights, the future of music was being written, one unforgettable show at a time. After cruising through these 15 legendary places, it's impossible not to feel the pulse of 1980s Los Angeles, a city bursting with energy, creativity, and a kind of magic that seemed endless. Every street, every bar, every club was alive with the dreams and wild hopes of a generation that believed anything was possible. Today, those same places still exist, but the city around them has changed. The neon glow has faded in some corners, and the spirit of endless reinvention has taken new forms. Some say Los Angeles has evolved. Others believe it has lost a little of the raw, untamed magic that made it so special back then. What do you think? Does Los Angeles today still capture the spirit of the 80s? Or has it become something entirely different? Do you believe the city has grown, transformed, or maybe left something behind in its rush toward the future? We'd love to hear your memories, your opinions, and your dreams. Share your thoughts in the comments, and let's keep the spirit of that unforgettable era alive together.